Hello everyone, welcome to ReactorCast. This is episode 7, very special edition of ReactorCast because I'm joined by Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man.
Hey everyone.
But of course, I joke, it's even better than Spider-Man because we have Liam Catterson here joining us. Once again, he was our guest in episode 2 and he had a wonderful idea for a special edition of ReactorCast. So we're back for episode 7 and this is going to be a Buffy heavy episode of ReactorCast where we are talking all things about The Body, which is season 5 episode 16, and The Gift, which is season 5 episode 22, the show's 100th episode, and season 5 finale. Both iconic episodes of the show.
Not emotional.
No, definitely legendarily known as the funniest, most lighthearted episodes of the show. And yeah, we're going to be talking about them because Liam had an itching to talk about them. So
yeah, I'm just grateful that I'm back here. So thank you. I just, as you said, I would like to do a reactor cast based on these two episodes, especially since I've just finished season 5 and The Bodies just came out onto YouTube. So yeah.
The timing, if there was ever a time to talk about these episodes, it would be now. So definitely a great idea, and I jumped on the chance because I enjoy talking about Buffy, and here we are. And it has been a while since I watched these episodes because it was definitely it was early 2020. I watched The Body for sure, and then a bit after that. So yeah, I sat down just before this and rewatched them both to get ready.
Oh no! In
the mindset, it was a bad idea. I made some terrible decisions today, but just a reminder how good they are. And my God, I love season 5 of Buffy so much. Well then,
did you cry?
Oh, I cried. I think it's impossible not to with these kind of things, but that's okay. Yeah. It just shows the success of the episodes, I guess. So yeah, we're going to be diving into both those episodes, talking a bit about the moments that stand out, blah blah blah. And then after that, I do have some questions that were sent in from you guys on both YouTube and Patreon, so thank you in advance for your questions. There were a lot, they've been narrowed down, but we'll talk more about that when we get there. So yeah, makes sense to chronologically start with The Body, the funniest episode of Buffy of all time.
Yeah! How lighthearted that was.
Where do we even begin? Are there any big moments that stand out for you that you want to get out of the way and talk about? Defining moments.
Just the whole 42 minutes is just one big defining thing, I feel like, because there's even like little bits included in the episode that really don't stand out, that really adds weight. Like, I do want to first mention about the fact you could have little small bits like Xander's car getting a parking ticket.
Yeah, I love that.
And yeah, because it's very interesting. People were wondering about the vampire waking up in the morgue, and it's all the case of the world doesn't stop because you're grieving.
Yeah.
I remember when my stepdad died, and I was going through my own grief, and I returned to school a few days later after taking the next day off. And I was just in that place where I just couldn't concentrate. I was still reeling, and you had kids none the wiser just playing, and it's a good testament to show that your whole world might be compromised, and everyone you might be your own main character in your own story, but these people have their own. I think Earshot is a good example of this, where Buffy tells Jonathan regarding the fact that everyone has their own lives, their own struggles. So I think that's perfect to what is going on. The car can get a parking ticket, vampire can wake up in the morgue. Yeah, I really love little moments like that because it does show that the world keeps turning.
Yeah, the episode itself is so about the realism behind coping with that and the immediate aftermath, those first few days and hours after you lose someone like that. But it's also very genuine to the realness of Sunnydale and there are vampires and demons and stuff about, it's kind of a blessing that Glory wasn't causing them trouble during all that in itself. So of course there's still going to be like vampires and stuff messing about. So I do like that they commit to the genuineness of the feelings of grief and how people are affected by that, but also the genuineness of where this show is still set. It's very grounded in both our reality as the audience, like knowing what grief is like, and the reality of Sunnydale as well, for sure.
I do like as well even though it crushed my heart and I still hate Joss for doing this, but the whole fake scenario where Joyce actually woke up and I was playing. I was like, I had a bit of hope, and I was like, wait, something isn't right, and then it snaps back to the reality of the situation, and that's where Joss made an enemy.
That's where I really started to lose it. And you fall for it every time. Like in Lover's Walk with the whole Cordelia thing, and it cuts to a funeral, you're like, oh my god. Yeah. And then they're like, oh well, is Cordelia going to be fine? Oh yeah, she'll be great. I'm like, can't believe you've done this. And it's like the opposite of that, where she really is dead and you think she's alive for a moment. It's just so cruel. But again, I think you all kind of reflect on what if. And if maybe she should have been fine, and this is what would have happened and should have happened, and we should have had all these years with her yet. And
that's it.
Like that cut back. This episode is great with those just like savage cuts, like from the Christmas scene when they like drop the pie or whatever it was straight to the image of the body, and just so well edited in that respect. Yeah,
like I've going back to when my stepdad died. We all stayed up all night because, of course, we couldn't sleep. And I just kept thinking if only the door would open. And it doesn't really, I feel like it doesn't really hit you. Like, even if you do be in Buffy's position where you find the body. And, it's not until I feel like the funeral does it sink in that this person really is gone. And you can keep replaying the events over and over again in your head, thinking, only I could do this, or if this person could walk through the door. So, I think that's a nice little... As heartbreaking as it is, and as much as I hate Joss for doing that, I think it is a good inclusion, because I think a lot of us go through that hopeful scenario in that very, very traumatic experience.
And I think a big thing that a lot of people point out is that there's a bit of music in the background in the Christmas scene, like Christmassy, happy, cheery music. After that cut back to Joyce's body, no music for the rest of the episode, which I think is an incredibly...
It lines up well, because
it's an incredible choice.
That's your only bit of happiness you're gonna... if anything, that's the only bit of happiness you're going to, I guess, get for that episode.
Yeah.
And the rest is just really, really heart-aching, so... It's good how that lines up with that scene.
Yeah, and again, it speaks to the whole reality of the situation, because we don't have background music playing wherever we go unless we have headphones on walking down the street or anything. But our lives aren't defined by a soundtrack, so it makes sense that such a big human moment like losing someone doesn't have a soundtrack in Buffy either. Which is just, quite frankly, it's rude, but it works, it's effective. So thank you, everyone, whoever's idea that was. Screw you. But it really does... really bring you into that moment. I think a lot of soundtracks are like, oh, this is how you're supposed to feel during this scene, because, look at all these instruments playing, this is badass, this is sad. But just like everyone grieves in a different way in real life and in this episode, you can kind of have your own journey with this episode, not being influenced by the music or anything. So all good stuff there. And how the episode is structured from... we focus on Buffy and how she's dealing with it, and then Giles kind of cuts her at the end, and then we have Dawn, and then we have Xander and Willow and everyone else, and then we have them all together. It's just so well done in that sense. You see how every single individual in the episode is coping with it, how they find out, and then they all come together for that last little bit. So structurally it's great.
I will say, it's good that we had a bit of focus on him in the next episode, but I feel like it kind of is good that Spike wasn't included, even though that he has such a good connection with Joyce, as we've seen a plethora of times.
Yeah.
This is still recent from the whole drama with Spike confessing to Buffy. But not just that, though. I don't know. I feel like it would take a little bit away from it, and like Spike just trying to deliver the flowers in the next episode is very, very strong enough, as well as the fact that he's willing to help Dawn resurrect Joyce. So
yeah, I think it was a very good choice to kind of leave him out of it. 'Cause, again, while there is that vampire at the end and everything, you don't want too many reminders for a situation like this, I think, of how real this world isn't always, because there's vampires and demons and stuff going around. And, sometimes Spike can be used for, like, comedy, has some not funny, witty lines, and you're just like, how is Spike going to fit here? So you don't want to have a character like Spike in an episode like this and get it wrong. So I think it's just better to... not be included at all. My lamp was turned on. That was scary. Hello, Joyce. Joyce.
No.
Oh God, that was freaky. Okay.
Oh, no.
Moving on.
I don't
Spike,
like
you said what? I should have been in it. Oh God, that was terrifying. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you can really reflect on with this episode. Like, I don't know. Like, there's certain moments like Xander blaming the doctors, which I think is like very, very like natural. Like you can think of, okay, well, it's this person's fault or it's that person's fault. You're just going, and you see him like moments later, he just does break down, and it's it's really, really good that I feel like this episode nailed the different range of emotions of someone who has been affected by another person's death, who was very, very close.
Yeah. Is there a big standout character for you in terms of, that's kind of how I would react, or that's how I did react? Was there like a big one that you felt quite drawn to?
I don't know. Like, I mean, I probably Willow the most, because...
Me too.
Of the fact that she was very, very much struggling throughout that entire thing, and that's it. Like from my experiences, I just have had my mind in a bit of a fluster in terms of emotions, and I can't think straight. And that it's the case with Willow. Like you saw her indecisiveness in terms of what is appropriate to wear, and it breaks your heart, and you saw her like absolutely break down. So I think Willow most so in that episode. So
I really related to, like, all my shirts have stupid, weird, funny things on them. Like, that's basically my wardrobe. So when she said that, I was like, oh my God. Because when my nan died, the next day her sister and her husband came over, and I woke up a bit later than everyone else, and I was like panicking, like, how do I dress for this kind of thing? Because I just had all these like cartoony things and Sunnydale High t-shirts, and as soon as she kind of said that, started breaking down. And when she was like, oh, Joyce liked the blue one, that really got me, because she was so like respectful, and she was panicking, like, if I wear purple, she's going to think I'm royal. Like Buffy probably, she's not going to be that aware of like what all these colours symbolise, but she's obviously panicking and overthinking all that stuff. But that really struck a chord with me, how she reacted.
Yeah, Emma Zanya was spectacular in that scene. I think that was the one. Like, I was already in a stream of tears, anyways, but that really broke me as well. So
the entire cast just brought it with this episode. I think they were aware when they like got the script and stuff how much of a challenge this was going to be, but I really do think they nailed it. Like Sarah having to do such a long scene at the start and do multiple takes of that, I can't even imagine. But my God, just powerhouse, really.
I mean, it is a very, very difficult. Like, it's not just the idea that like you have to act in a certain way, and it can be very, very I don't know, stressful, like doing it so many times. It's the fact that you have to get it right as well, and like as you said, I think everyone nailed it. Like showing their different, showcasing different emotions. Just like I said, the entire 42 minutes was just significant.
Yeah, every single thing mattered, because this whole situation needs to matter to the characters. It needs to matter to us. Like the Christmas scene after the titles was only there so that all the credits could go through, and then once the actual shit hit the fan properly, there were no titles. So every single decision about this episode was just so well kind of crafted and made for, and the way some of the editing was done, like when the paramedic's telling Buffy that Joyce is dead and how sorry he is, and like the camera like cuts off the top half of his head, and she's just like, she's not in focus, she's not thinking straight, she's not even like paying attention to him, just the words. And I love that. Even
stuff like Dawn already in tears, like when we cut to her in school, like that is like, she is upset regarding how people are talking about her, making these comments regarding what like self-harm, etc. And that is like you're just feeling like, oh, like it's heartbreaking because like she doesn't know yet. And like during that like bit where like Buffy got that affirmation that she died, like I was just so worried for Dawn, especially with the fact that she's already been going through a crisis herself regarding the fact that she is the key. So
she had such this huge identity crisis after finding out that she was the key and everything. And I think one of the main pillars of support she had was Joyce, because she had that supportive mother figure. Suddenly that's taken away. So like, you talk about how rough this season was for so many characters. Dawn really did have it rough, and she's going through all this, and she's like essentially a couple of months old. So
that's it.
And how like the whole art class scene, it's such a slow build, because that Buffy's going to show up at some point. You're just like, when is this going to happen? And talking about like painting the negative space around the object, and you're like, oh god. And there's a shot.
Don't stop. Stop.
There's like a shot of the statue that they're painting, so it's just yet another shot of like this cold body of a woman, and
blank, devoid of life.
Just when she's kind of feeling a bit better about things, because that guy's like talking to her and everything, boom, there's Buffy, and her world comes tumbling down. And again, Michelle in that scene where you can't like necessarily hear everything they're saying when she just collapses. And
you can really emote. I think that was really good though, like them muffling the sound for that scene. Even seeing the reactions from everyone else as well, like how like they realized the severity of this situation. And it's like I said, really good to include something like that in and muffle the sound. What's going to be said. You just really need to pay attention to the emotion, because that's the catalyst of that scene, not what's said, what is shown.
And how the teacher just so happens to look quite a bit like Joyce. Again, another very mean thing that they did. And Dawn and that guy were talking about, oh, no one understands our pain kind of thing before that. And you're like, well, I'm not sure you understand pain quite yet, because you're about to experience a hell of a painful experience. So just there's so many kind of slow burns throughout the episode, and like how they're gonna like eventually someone's gonna explode. You kind of knew Willow was getting a bit more and more agitated by what Anya was doing, because she just doesn't understand this. And then you get that big explosion, which leads to one of my favourite moments of the episode, is Anya's whole speech about,
like I said, Anna killed it, in my opinion.
She was phenomenal.
Honestly, that speech, like I said, that speech did was one of the big ones in terms of like, okay, that's the bit that's getting me very, very like, I'm already an emotional wreck, but that really does kick me in the gut harder than the rest of the punches that I'm taking. So
we hadn't quite seen Anya even that emotional before, because when we first see her, she's like this demon and she's not understanding things, and then suddenly you realise she is getting it, but it's just so difficult for her. You just feel awful.
The fact that she even said, "I wish Joyce wasn't dead."
Such a good detail that they did.
because, if only.
Yeah. So that her speech really resonated. The whole like, oh, Joyce will never have any more fruit punch. That really got me. I always like think about things like that. I was like, I wonder if I've seen like a time on the clock for the last time in my life. What if I've never seen that time again? Just those little things. And Anya clearly thinks that way as well. So I found that really resonated with me. And just that whole speech is so powerful.
Agreed. Yeah, like you can well, it's not just you. It's the people surrounded in your life as well, isn't it? Like the fact that if they do die, your mind sometimes thinks about, okay, the last time they do this, the last time they do that. Example, it's really heartbreaking to think about. So Anya vocalizing that is really, really powerful. So
yeah, it's just another kind of example of how someone might cope. Like sometimes they might repress things, and then sometimes they just don't understand it. 'Cause, situations like if you lose someone, how do you deal with like the kids? How would you tell them that you may not see this person again and they've gone somewhere else? Like, how do you deal with that? So we got that. We had Willow being a bit confused, like, what do I wear? Xander like physically took it out on a wall because it's the wall's fault for some reason. Giles tries to keep a level head about it because he needs to do all the forms, and Buffy's blurry. Dawn's like struggling as well, and Tara's been through it before, so she's going to try and help and be a pillar as best she can because Tara is amazing.
Like I said, all these different ways that people handle the situation is really good because they're all unique and they're all real depictions of people who go through different like cycles of death, people who've been in that position before and tries to comfort the other. It's just really, really good to see these like all these characters have different ranges of how they are handling the situation. So
it's very cathartic, I think, watching it and seeing, oh, that's how I responded to when I lost my nan, that's how I responded when my mum died, blah blah blah. I think that's why this episode resonates so strongly, because it showcases so many different responses to grief and how people deal with it. I think so many people who watch it can identify with at least like one tiny little thing, and it's an incredible kind of representation of so many different aspects of grief, and I'm sure there are like many more out there. And but the fact that they managed to cover so many different ranges in 42 minutes is kind of insane, and still make it cohesive and about the characters, and so well done.
I do also like as well, again, even though it keeps breaking my heart, but just seeing the process after death for Joyce, like her being zipped up, them doing a post-mortem on her, like you see those shots and it's heartbreaking, but I think it's really, really it's a strong point for the episode, seeing the process for her now.
It's quite something. And I think going back to the Willow and Tara scene before Xander and Anya kind of came up, this is a big deal for them because we had their first on-screen kiss. Another reason I think this episode is so kind of well loved and iconic in that sense.
The fact that Joss apparently threatened to quit, I thought that is very, very strong. Like, to include it in a scenario like this, you can't cut away like the Restless episode. Like you could tell they were like kissing, etc. But of course, it wasn't able to be broadcasted. So you can't cut away from that, I feel, and I really like the idea that Joss had like that attitude, like I won't continue this if you don't show me that, and it's very powerful.
It's another representation of how we grieve, I guess. You find comfort in others and you want to be there for the people you love, and that show of affection. And again, I think that's another reason why having no music in this episode made that first kiss on screen all the more kind of special, because they're not making a big deal out of the fact that they're having their first on-screen kiss. There's no like big harps and I don't know other romantic music in the background. It's just these two women who are in love, who are grieving, and they're sharing that comfort in each other, and it's just so well done.
It's something that I can definitely relate to as well. With my stepdad, the first person that I wanted to see for that comfort was my ex. So I did go to her and had that comfort from her. So yeah, that was a safe place for me. Like all these painful emotions flooding to me, and I wanted that comfort, because this was also I feel like this was my first time I lost someone that I loved. So I didn't know how to feel, and all of these emotional like all these emotions flooding to me, I needed that area of comfort. So
for me, like, I think it was 2009 I lost my great grandparents. That was kind of my first experience with it, and then I don't think I cried until their actual funerals. But then my nan died. This was 2016, and obviously I was really close to her. I have a lot of memories and stuff. I went to her house every summer. I spent the summer at hers all the time. So when she died, she died of cancer, and we went to the hospital with her. I just had this gut feeling. She'd been in there for a few weeks at this point. I had my gut feeling like this is the last time I'm ever going to see her. So I said goodbye and everything. Went home. My sister and my mum stayed with her at the hospital. My dad came back with me, and then he woke me up at like 3 a.m. to say, she's passed away. And then again, I didn't like burst into tears or anything. It was just kind of numb. I was trying to get back to sleep. As soon as it's about 8 a.m., as soon as I heard my mum and my sister come back in the house, burst into tears, just like hugged. And then again, I didn't cry again until the funeral. So it's just such a weird feeling to go into this episode, especially when you kind of are set up for it with the ending of I Was Made to Love You, because you're like, okay, stuff's going to go down in this next one, so you're kind of a bit prepared, but I don't think you're truly prepared for how great the body's ultimately going to be as a representation of grief and stuff. So the fact that when you've gone through that quite a few times, and then to see that again was quite bonkers. Because then I also lost an aunt in 2018, so I also was thinking of that. That's still very raw and fresh when I watch the body, and it's amazing what that episode can do for people, I'd say.
It does have you, like, it certainly has had me reflect on certain moments, especially the shock. And that's really, like, they could have closed out I Was Made to Love You on Spike being a creep. But that shock, that disbelief, I think that's a good selling point. And then, as you said, you could go through the rest of the next episode, going through that, like, going through those emotions, crying and whatnot. I feel like it's a good process of, like, how certain people will react to a loved one dying, and we've both gone through that same process. So
a few other details, like when Xander like punches the wall, they get it out, it's all bloody and stuff, and Tara's just like, it hurts. And just Xander's kind of, he even smiles a bit there. It's just that understanding. Like, Tara does that throughout this whole episode. I think she really grounds people. Because like Buffy was like, I don't even know if I'm even here, like in the hospital when everyone went. And then Tara opened up about her losing her mum, and I think that kind of brings Buffy back to the surface. And she kind of centers Xander there, and Willow mouths "I love you" in that scene just as they're walking out, like, ugh. And even it wasn't intended at the time, but it's a bit of comedy in that when Xander's like, these Avengers got to get assembling, given what Joss Whedon would then go on to do.
Yes.
And yeah, everything with the parking ticket and stuff. Just some really great details of that. And then, like you mentioned earlier, the shots of Joyce getting like the post-mortem, the autopsy and everything done. Just that really long shot of the Doctor just like walking along down the corridor to where everyone's kind of gathered, and seeing everyone hugging. Like, something that really got me was Xander and Giles hugging.
Yeah,
as soon as I saw that, I was
same.
like, oh boy, tears. And then when Anya's like, Giles.
Yeah. And he, I really, really like, because, Giles can have that reaction most of the time to Xander, for example, where he's just done with him.
Yeah.
But it's a time like this where everyone is hurting, and they're all here for each other. Like, they've all been... this is it. Like, Joyce has been, like, she's affected a lot of the Scoobies, and they are all here for each other. Like, yeah, some people might find others annoying at times, but at the end of the day, there is that genuine love, and they are all here for each other, and it's really good to see people hugging people you don't usually expect to see. So
yeah, and Giles is like far and away the best father figure and male role model that Xander has. So to see them share that intimate moment is like really nice. And earlier in the season, we had the episode Family, and that really establishes them as this whole kind of family unit. And then to see them go through all this together, it just reiterates how close and wonderful this family is. You know, the idea of found family in any TV show or movie, anything. The idea of found family, I just adore. I think it's one of the reasons I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so much, and it's certainly a reason why I love Buffy so much. So them getting to highlight that, even in a very tragic way and for tragic reasons, all about that. And the idea that it was just an aneurysm that killed Joyce. I know there are some speculation and theories, but I like to think that it was an aneurysm. This is something Buffy couldn't fight.
Yeah, I like that, because sometimes there are battles that you can't win, that are not that you could try your best to be there. Like they even said, if you were there like 10 minutes early, it might not. I don't think it would have made a difference, etc.
Yeah,
there are certain things that you can't fight. You could fight the vampire that was preying on Dawn at the end of the episode, but there are certain things like aneurysms that you couldn't have helped. They could have done something related to Glory, like she could have done her on her. It could have been related to Dawn because of the fact that she's an anomaly, and it could have been that. It could have been a case where from life must come death, so someone would have to pay the price, which would be Joyce. But it's something normal, and I think that really adds a lot of weight when they could have had so many other avenues to go down towards. And it's a good message that Buffy, like, it's not like not every death can be prevented by you. So
yeah, and by the end of the season, they like defeat a god and stop a god's plans, like an actual god. But Buffy can't stop her mother from dying of a brain aneurysm. It's just and even like you were saying, there are some battles you can't win. The end of the season, is it necessarily a victory? Yes, they saved the day, they closed the portal and stuff, but you know, it cost Buffy her life. And the ideal, you know, if it was a true victory, it would be that they, you know, managed to stop Glory even starting the ceremony in the first place. But that bloody Doc, bitch Doc, prevented that from happening as well. So yeah. And just the detail of when the Doctor's kind of talking to Buffy, and he's clearly not saying this, but in Buffy's head, he's like, "I have to lie to make you feel better."
I really like that touch as well. So it's again, looking at her perspective of things, like her first person view is a really nice touch, and not just that though, but hearing it from as if you were Buffy right now. So yeah.
It's just another example of her kind of skewed view of people in this episode, like the paramedic, where they weren't focusing on like the top half of his head, and then he was clearly saying something different and, you know, trying to comfort her, but in her mind she's like, I've done something wrong, you know, I clearly have failed here. And
again, we go back to that bit where that fake out where Joyce was like, we go back to there because again, replaying the events all over again, she's like, could I have done this, could I have done that, etc. And then you had the Doctor say you wouldn't be able to have done anything if you were there earlier, etc. So
yeah, and that's clearly like still playing on her mind in Forever when Angel's there, and she's just talking about, you know, did that guy even mean it? And so it's again another very real thing I think that people will go through, like, what if I'd gotten home 10 minutes earlier, you know, what if I decided to stay in today? Maybe that could have changed things, you know.
I have been in that position personally, because with my stepdad dying, like, I last saw him on the night before he died. And I kept thinking, like, I was partly responsible because like, even though it doesn't make sense logically and to the cause of his death, because he suffered a blood clot, so I was going through certain levels of like, oh, what ifs and whatnot, and wishing that you could have done things differently, or like this is it though as well, because it wasn't anyone's fault. I don't mean to say this in a crude way, but if anything, it was him, because he was told go see a doctor because he was looking ill, and right. People kept saying you should go to a doctor, and he hated going to the doctors. And we always remarked about the fact, saying if only he did go to the doctors, then maybe that could have saved him. So
we do all have our regrets. I remember when it was my great grandmother, she was in hospital, we all like said goodbye and left and everything, and she like called me back and said, "Oh, I love you," and there were like people around in the corridor, so I was too embarrassed to say it back. I was like, yeah. I never saw her again. That was the last time I saw her. And it just, that played on me for years and years. I'm like, she knew I loved her, so you kind of have to make that peace with that. But moments like that really stand out. And the snack run the guys will go on, they come back with like all this stuff that felt very real to me. That was something I would definitely do. And I love the line that Tara was saying. Well, Buffy said, your mother, was it sudden? And I was like, no, so I assume her mother was ill. But then she was like, oh yes, it's always sudden. And that's definitely kind of always the case. It certainly was with my nan. We were told in advance, she's got about 3-4 weeks, and it got to that point and she started getting worse, and it's still like, it doesn't feel real that it's actually happening. So there's just so much realness in this episode, and having to rewatch it again today, it was quite an experience.
Guess who feels bad for putting you through the ringer again?
It's okay. I didn't have to rewatch them, but I felt like I wanted to get the most out of it, and I'm glad I did. That's the third time I've watched The Body now, and that's enough for a while.
Yeah. You just stay over there.
Yes. The Gift, I mean, the ending is sad, but I can just about get through The Gift. I still cry, but I can just about get through it. But The Body...
It's still recent.
Yeah, I can happily... The Body's continuously sad throughout the entire episode, whereas... I think it gets quite sad near the end of The Gift, so,
I will say, like, when you were talking about Buffy having to sacrifice herself, like, yeah, they stopped the god, but there's still this going on. I had Angel flashbacks to Becoming Part 2, when,
Close your eyes.
I'm jealous, and then portals open, someone has to die.
Goodbye.
There we go.
And she yeeted him into hell.
And the fact that there is that idea that both characters will return. Like, I'm not sure how there's the process of Sarah Michelle Gellar is going to continue heading into season 6. It could be. I've stated my theories. It could be bit of an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spoiler, so click ahead if you haven't seen like seasons 5 to 7, okay? Because we're gonna, yeah. It could be a case of Buffy bot like Coulson.
Interesting.
Because with this being a Whedon show, like, it kind of connects. You had Phil. You had Phil die at the end. It was, of course, his final episode in the flesh, of course, 5x22, as well as a certain someone, and that's why.
Don't do this to me.
Yeah, I said 5x22. When it comes to a Whedon show, they're cursed.
Oh my god, yeah, that's so
banned.
True.
Yeah.
And they even bring back the Buffy bot in The Gift, so
yeah,
it's a solid theory.
And it's not like, I mean, she had her head lobbed off. I mean, I'm sure you can like fix it and whatnot. It's not
just
like
bit of glue. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's not like she was thrown into a volcano or whatever. So
no.
But I'm just thinking with that comparison with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and of course our Coulson did come back, but it was of course the Chromicon body and whatnot. I like there's a possibility that you could have, because they did change Buffy, the Buffy bot personality, I felt, because they had that you were thinking, oh, Buffy, and then she gets her head lopped off, and the real Buffy comes in with the surprise attack. So I do feel like there is a personality change, so it could be a leeway for Buffy bot to return.
Mm-hmm.
The other idea that I do think is going to happen, and given that the episode called back to a lot of things that were pointed out during the season, like the whole "death is your gift" thing, and that realization, which was really nice. It could be down to resurrection, like, because what happened with Joyce is the fact that the spell went through, but we didn't see, which I really liked about that episode.
Yeah.
The fact that we didn't get to see Joyce, we saw her shadow.
How that thing was, yeah.
Yeah, it could have been her, but it could have been something more undead.
Yeah.
And that's it. You just never know. So they could call back to that resurrection with Buffy. So that's my two theories going by at the minute. So
interesting. Well, I look forward to seeing.
Don't you do that?
I don't. How are things going to play out? I don't know. But I also did like you mentioning earlier when she like sacrificed Angel, because she talks about that in The Gift as well.
Yeah.
She said, I loved him so much, but this is different. I'm not sure if I want to live in this world if these are the choices. And I'm like, well, we've got some good news for you, buddy. Let's skip ahead 10 minutes.
But I just, like I said, I really like some of the stuff that they did, like the Buffy bot and the twist that the real Buffy was getting the one up on Glory, and you had the hammer from the troll who likes his ale.
I love how like seemingly sort of like filler-ish episodes actually do have the significance and come back, because I Was Made to Love You kind of ties into the body, and it has the idea of Spike making a Buffy bot and everything. Is so well structured. The whole season 5, I think, from a story standpoint, is just so well structured in that its arc and everything. And I like that the body showcases that in the 42 minutes as well, because it's another very well structured episode. And the ending of it is when Dawn kind of sneaks off to get a glimpse of the old Joyce, and then the vampire comes. I like that Buffy kind of senses something's not right here. She doesn't check the bathroom. She knows Dawn's is elsewhere, and takes it out. Very brutal kill for the vampire. I love that she just
it just
like, oh, lovely.
And I also really liked the idea that she had a quite rough battle with it. Like, it wasn't like an easy. It was real. It was a struggle for her, and I feel like that is a good depiction of how a person might be feeling, like they don't have the strength because they are broken with the death of their loved ones. So I feel, I don't know, for me, I felt like that's a really, really good depiction of Buffy doesn't have the strength because she's just lost, if anything, the closest person to her, and thus we have that struggle. So
losing a parent, I think, is never going to be easy, and we've seen Buffy's journey. We know her dad isn't necessarily around that much.
Don't talk to me about him. He's like, I even make a snide comment because he wasn't going to show up. Yeah. So I was like, he's a dick. So.
Oh, you're going to love season 6 when he joins the Watchers Council.
Don't you dare put that in the universe. I will have a dartboard with his picture on, and I'll be like, die.
That's fair enough. And that obviously during that whole battle with the vampire, the sheet on Joyce gets knocked off, so we can kind of reveal her, and then Dawn's like, well, Buffy's like, well, she's gone. That's not her. She's gone. And Dawn's just like, where'd she go? And asking if she's cold, and then just that final shot of the episode. Yeah. Again, this whole episode is about everyone's connection to Joyce, and that Dawn has always wanted to see the body and stuff, and then we're just robbed of that last final connection, because just before we see her touch Joyce's face, it cuts, and that's the end of it. So even then, that connection to Joyce truly is gone, because we don't even get it right at the end, because she's no longer with us. A very effective way of ending the episode, I think.
Yeah, and I think that really adds on well with the whole resurrection thing. In the next episode, we don't get to see her. Like, I feel like with that ending, you don't want to kind of, especially an episode later, so it's really, really good, as well as the fact that you do question, okay, what is this Joyce? Like, is she like who she was before? Is she more zombified? Like, you can ask yourself all these questions, and the great thing is you don't know because we didn't get to see we only got to see her shadow outside. So
I think it would have really lessened the impact if we had actually seen her in some kind of shape or form, especially like one episode after we just had this whole deal about her dying. So yeah, I think that was definitely a good choice to have like this shadow. Like, is she a shadow of who Joyce used to be? Is it actually her? And
but it's also something that is really, really, like, they're not rushing anything or whatever in terms of like, okay, so Joyce died this last episode, so we're going to bring her back, because I feel like, especially in the world that Buffy is set in, I feel like a lot of us would probably delve into that area about a possibility of bringing someone back, because especially for Dawn, who feels completely alone, I feel like you would take that opportunity. Like, you're not in the, like, of course it's still pretty raw for you, so you won't be able to think straight, but I think a lot of us would take that opportunity of wanting to bring a loved one back, especially if you feel like you're all alone, because she even says to Buffy, you've been pretending like it's one big job, etc. So yeah,
poor Buffy, she goes through the ringer in season 5.
Yep.
Well, and until she doesn't, because nothing's going to trouble her now, so
yeah. Oh man, I was a wreck. Like this is it though. Like, even though you do know that season 6 and season 7 are, of course, a thing, I don't think it lessens the impact for me, because it's still something that you don't want to face the prospect with. And plus, you could, now you can think of theories about, okay, well, if Sarah Michelle Gellar is going to return, I suspect Buffy could be truly dead, and we could have the Buffy bot in her place. But, or I don't know, like, they could do a Pinocchio on the Buffy bot and turn the Buffy bot into a real, like, I'm a real
Slayer. Now that I would love to see. Yeah, Sid comes back from season 1, the puppet.
Oh no!
And he becomes a real boy, and he's like, I'm going to share my secrets with you! Boom! And then Buffy bot becomes Buffy. I can't believe I just spoiled season 6 for you.
Oh no!
Oh dear. Silly me. What am I like?
But yeah, I felt like the finale was really, really good. And I know people have said that it was there was uncertainty regarding if season 6 was going to happen, which, not, of course, spoiling anything for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., as I've already made certain comments, but I think we were in that similar area with season 5 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because I think it was only a week prior to the finale did we get a confirmation for season 6.
Yeah, it was.
Because I remember that was very, very stressful.
That was
I was like, please.
Even the wait for getting a season 5 renewal was so long. I was like,
oh my!
I mean,
yeah.
How Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got to 7 seasons is a miracle, because they were struggling to get even a season 3. So the fact that we got to season 7 is insane.
Yes.
But lots of good shows have 7 seasons, as S.H.I.E.L.D. seems to prove, as Buffy seems to prove, and yes, so. But we will talk about The Gift in a minute, but The Body, that is a hell of a 42 minutes, non-stop crying, guaranteed tears for me anyway. Yeah. Just an amazing, amazing episode. And as we've seen, we've talked about it for 55 minutes, so it must be a hell of an episode.
Well, this is what I was saying to you the other day. I could go on forever, essentially, regarding these 2 episodes, especially because there's just a lot to pinpoint. Even the smallest of things have great significance in the writing and how amazing it is.
Yeah. You could write a book on it.
Yeah, you could.
Maybe I will. Lockdown 2. Maybe I'll write that.
Why not? Why not?
Very appropriate face there as we start talking about The Gift, which is obviously season 5 finale and the show's 100th episode. And what a way to celebrate by killing Buffy. There's no way of celebrating a show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer than killing Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Oh boy.
Oh man.
Just another hell of a finale, hell of an end to a hell of a season. I've said hell enough times. Yeah.
And our emotions were hell.
Oh, indeed. Indeed they are. Are there any big standout moments right from the off?
The previously section, brilliant. Especially when they are like going through all of the episodes, and the journey that we've started with on this 100, coming into this 100th episode. I really love that. It's a nice little touch and a nice recognition of how this show has prospered so well. And even after that, like when Buffy just takes down your casual vampire and saves someone, people might not see the significance of it, but it's again a celebration of Buffy. Like, this is Buffy. This is what she does. She's a hero.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you know, this is what I do, and then that guy's like, you're just a girl. And I was like, bitch, please. And she was like, that's what I keep saying. And that just reminded me of the whole, like, prophecy girl. And she's like, Giles, I'm 16 years old. I don't want to die. And I love that opening sequence just defines who Buffy is, what she does. The very end of the episode is her grave saying she saved the world a lot. That's who Buffy is. That's what she did. So I love how that came full circle. It's so well done in that respect.
Oh, man. Yeah. It was really good. And then we had, of course, continued discussion regarding Dawn's potential death. And even then, it was just so shocking to see Giles raise his voice to Buffy, because it's not something you expect to see. But Buffy's, as we said, been through a lot this season, and now she's been told, okay, well, weeks after losing Joyce, you're gonna probably lose Dawn as well. So
I love when she's like, yeah, go on, tell me to kill my sister. I'm like, oh boy, we're pretty well talking about this. Please don't argue.
It was really heartbreaking. Like I said, she's gone through it all, but now we've got the prospect of hell literally opening up on Earth. Earth is everything you know and love will die in a blazing inferno, etc.
Yeah, if the ritual starts, Dawn has to die. That's the way it is. And we're like, well, they'll stop it in time.
Yes.
No,
close.
naive.
We were close.
We were so. If it wasn't for Doc, we would have been absolutely fine. But God damn you! That tongue, yeah. And we get Spike's speech about blood. It has to be the blood. That's why do you think we drink it? That's what keeps you alive. That's what makes you alive. And that then comes back, and again, Buffy. Then we have Buffy's speech about she's made for me. It's we have the same blood. And all those speeches come back.
I do hate myself because I did make the mention of the Summer's blood comment. And of course, that heralds significance to Buffy's sacrifice. So
it's your fault, basically.
Yeah, as a lot of things. Like Once Upon a Time, episode 2, and then a few episodes later, and I'm like, "Good job, Liam. Good job.
Oh boy,
you brought it into the universe."
Yeah, and then we have. There's a lot of foreshadowing, really, in those opening few speeches with that whole meeting, because we have Giles' speech about Dawn dying, and Spike's speech about blood. Buffy oh, Dawn's part of me. I feel this connection to her. Then Xander so casually said, should we kill Ben? We can do that, right? And then he's like, oh God, we can't. What have I become? I'm suggesting killing a human. Giles is like, mighty fine idea.
Yes. And then Tara saying you're a killer, and
that foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So well done. And then we were mentioning earlier, how things in seemingly more filler episodes of the season came back, because we had Anya suggesting using that sphere thing to stop Glory a bit, and then using the troll hammer and everything. Yeah. So good. And the fact that
I do kind of love it. I think it was Spike who said that thing's too heavy, and then it's
Buffy's worthy. And he's like, well, all right. And then we had Tara get zapped by Glory a few episodes back, and then they end up being able to use that to advantage, because they can use Tara to lead her to where Glory's base is and everything. Just so well set up in that respect, and another showcasing of how great the plan was when they laid out season 5, because everything just comes together so nicely.
It did. Like, I will say that like bit where Tara slapped Willow did like hurt me. Like it was a huge smack as well, but also you don't want to see your like these two lovelies. Like it's not her fault, obviously.
No.
But it's still like something that really does crush your soul.
Yeah, Alison Hannigan's sad face just gets me every single time. It's just the worst, but also the best because she's amazing.
She is.
And then there we cut to Dawn, obviously in prison, or imprisoned anyway, and Ben's like, "Hey, got your address."
Like, you know, you're just your casual like, "Hey, so you're gonna die soon, aren't you? So
but you're gonna look pretty."
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Besides,
it's your death dress. And I love that Dawn's just like, "I don't want to look at you. Turn into glory, 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 glory."
Yeah, she's just.
She just turned into like a glory stan, but glory, glory, glory.
Like I do feel a bit for Ben. Like he wasn't like doing this out of malice or because I'm a traitor, but he talks about this is like self-preservation at the end of the day, and you know he talks about how he was there for, he wants to be there for people, so it's not like his motives were not genuine, but you know he had to do what he had to do. Yeah, same with Dawn. She didn't ask to be the key. He didn't ask for this.
Whoopsie, and it worked out well for them both.
Oh no.
We have Giles like trying to make amends to Buffy, being like, "Oh, you probably hate me now," and he's like, "It's my job to say and do things that others can't," and then obviously that ties into what he does to Ben later on in the episode, which is definitely a big standout moment.
Oh man, I think like I got chills down the back of my spine when he killed Ben, because not only was that like bit what he said very, very powerful, like she's not like us, and then so
yes. And like we were mentioning earlier, she talks then about sacrificing Angel, how she's like, "I'm not sure if I want to live in this world if these are the rules." And when she's like, "I just wish Mum was here." It just such kind of a blow. And it's interesting because if, you know, I think we have a question about this later on, so we can probably delve into it then. But, you know, if Joyce hadn't died, how different would the rest of season 5 be? You know,
I know.
All these choices kind of go in different ways. So, all some interesting, good character stuff then. Then we have Dawn getting taken up to the tower to start the ritual. Then we get a pretty big moment for Xander and Anya in the basement. Pretty big moment. And then another pretty big moment.
I was like... Oh man, I really loved that bit, like where he did propose, and it was just really beautiful.
I just love the image of him just like watching Anya, and I just wish it cut down to him like fumbling in his pocket trying to get this ring box open with one hand. I can just imagine him trying to do. Come on, please! This is a really good moment to do this.
that bit when like it was filled with so much emotion because they were like doing it before the world potentially end. Because you know, and then we had the Buffy bot, and we're like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, good setup there.
And then there was like your heartwarming, and there was the reminder of how much Anya likes bunnies.
Yeah, super big fan. She's a bunny stan, that's for sure. I like that her initial reaction was like, "You're just proposing because we're gonna die." Yeah,
I did too.
You know, he was like proving that he did have this genuine love, and he's like, "No, we're gonna live. God damn it,
we're gonna live."
They did. Most of them did. So he wasn't entirely wrong.
And my heart kind of had a scare with the bits of debris as well.
The rubble, yeah. When she like saves him, Just this episode also demonstrated how far Anya's come. The fact she does that for Xander, and when she's like, you know, "I'm scared about what's going to happen to you. I'm scared about what's happening to me. I feel bad that I'm not as scared about what's going to happen to everyone else." But then she also feels bad about that. So she's really come such a long way, and I love when they showcase that. Because she does have, I think, some of the best development on the show.
Yeah, definitely. Like, she's one of my favorite characters. Definitely. Like, I've spoken about how I feel like I've related to her, but also, as you said, she has had such big development, and she's a very, very enjoyable character. So, yeah.
Yeah. Like, she can be absolutely hilarious. She has some killer lines, but as the body proved, she can break your bloody heart as well. Like, just the range that character has is insane. Then we had Buffy and Willow having a bit of a talk, and Willow thinks she's found a spell she can use on Glory to save Tara, potentially restore her. I love that Buffy understands that is Willow's priority, not necessarily like having to stop Glory. She wants to help the woman she loves. I loved everything
that's really
with that.
sweet.
And Willow just continues to be adorable, and she's like, I don't want to be the gun. I don't want to be like the one that we have to rely on.
I can't help but love her. She is amazing. Like,
yeah.
She like when she gets flustered and says comments like that, your heart just melts.
Yeah, and then there's also those moments when like Tara turns up, Glory's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And then Widow's like, "She's with me," and the whole spell works out. Just such a badass moment. Again, showing how far Widow's come with her magic. The fact that she can hurt a god is pretty freaking badass.
I know, like she's had some really, really amazing moments, like especially against Glory. This, like with the whole teleport thing, that was like, yeah, it did hurt her a bit, but and then there was that like episode, like after what she did to Tara, and like she's been the dark horse, like. All this season, Glory has been, talking about, Buffy's not going to do jack. But, Willow comes in and keeps impressing with the teleportation, with how she went all ultra against her. Like, she tapped into that powerful asset of her, and gave her a good fight. So, yeah.
Pretty badass. Another big moment, one of my favourite moments I think in the episode, was when Buffy and Spike go back to the house to get some weapons, and obviously Spike hasn't been let back in after the events of Crush, and then she lets him back in. Then we get Spike's little speech, like, "I know you'll never love me, but you treat me like a man."
Yeah, I really loved that. That was really beautiful. Like, I mean, I wouldn't mind the prospect of them too, but the fact is that they've been on a roller coaster, like from episode, like with Spike realizing that he loves Buffy, to him just comforting her on the porch.
I love that scene so much in Fall for Love.
I keep tearing. So yeah, to the whole debacle that involved Drusilla and Harmony. It's been a roller coaster, and it's great to see how she can have trust in Spike at the end of the day, and that he has grown so much and he can confess something like that to her. It's really, really nice.
To see how they were in School Hard compared to that moment. How did they get here? But also, we've seen how they got in here, and it's like such great development. And I'm glad they had that moment before the season was done. And then he's like really happy and smiley at the end, when he sees her there, he's like super happy. He's like, yay! When he's had a line before, like, "Oh, I'll dance on your grave," ha ha ha. He did not dance on her grave.
Oh no! He, like, out of everyone's reaction, his was the one that kicked me the most.
Yeah,
everyone was you just felt so bad for everyone, but he broke down, and he, for his perspective, he's just lost someone that he really, really loved.
Yeah, just the timing of like when they're replaying Buffy's speech and we find out what she was saying to Dawn, like, "Give my love to my friends," and then they cut to Willow being like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Oh," then they cut to Giles being like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Oh," then they cut to Spike like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Oh." It's just so sad, but such a beautiful speech and a beautiful cap to the season, and oh god, it's bittersweet because obviously you don't necessarily want this technically like 6-month-old being to die in Dawn, but you also. You want Buffy the Vampire Slayer to continue to be a vampire slayer, but well, we saw how it played out.
It's difficult, and Buffy has been fighting the idea of Dawn having to die. She's been fighting that, and her realizing what things have been said to her. Death is her gift. She's not a harbinger, but there we go. The full meaning behind death is your gift. Yeah. It's finally realized. Everything that's been said throughout not just the episode, but everything, it's all come back to that moment where, she does a nice Olympic dive.
Yeah. 10. That'd been funny. They just cut to all of Glory's minions going like 10, yes! 10. That'd been hilarious.
Oh no! Why?
Probably for the best they didn't. I think that probably would have broken the emotion.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole final sequence as well. Like Christoph Beck's score for that scene, that music as she's like diving and the ending. So beautiful. So well done. We then have the big confrontation. Like we think it's Buffy, and she like confronting Glory, uses the orb and everything. Big fight breaking out.
Oh, it was good. I've got to say that fight was really, really impressive.
Yeah. It's cool that the scale of the fight, because they were like fighting up a tower. It's very different to what we'd seen before.
It was really, really amazing to see like the choreography done absolutely superbly, and like Becoming Part 2, I feel it had some similarities there, because that also had some great fighting with Buffy and Angelus. So,
and someone going into a portal in both episodes. So
don't remind me, because
the Bangel feels.
Oh,
it's another thing they have in common now. They both died and fallen into a portal.
I'm just really worried as well. I'm assuming he will know at some point. Just of course, I've watched episode 21 of season 2 of Angel, which didn't need that ending, by the way. So thank you. But I was just coming into I was making coffee for Angel, and I was like, he doesn't know yet.
Yeah, he's stuck in Pioneer.
Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking you can't gloss over his reaction, because Angel and Buffy, they have such a huge connection. So, pending he survives Pylea, I would like to see his reaction to Buffy's death, because I think it's not something that you can really gloss over, because of the huge connection that they have for each other. So
yeah.
Though I thought that message before he went off, I thought he was leaving it for Buffy, because it sounded like it would have broken my heart, because she's not going to get it, buddy, because
she's left me on red. I can't believe this. I thought we patched things up. But you know what? She'll never forget.
Really? That episode
I enjoy being mean. But yeah, I am actually quite glad I rewatched The Gift, because it gave me a moment that I laughed out loud at, that I completely forgotten about. There's like a minion giving a little speech, and he's for glory! And as soon as he makes a pun, gets rewarded for it, he's killed.
I was thinking of you. I was actually thinking of you during that scene.
I was laughing out loud. Oh man.
He went to the School of Duke was my comment.
Yeah. It's
such a
it's a fair reaction.
Yeah, it's so I don't know, unorthodox. It's like you have this end of days scenario that's about to play out, and then you got a minion just making a pun, and it's all good. I just love that bit.
Yeah. So that was funny, and it was good to have a moment of comedy like that, when we know how things end up going and how things started out with everyone fighting and stuff. And then we found out that Tara had been returned to normal, so that was all good. Yay. And where they was like, "I will always find you," which reminds me of another couple on another show.
I think I know who you're talking
yes,
about.
I think you do. Then we got Glory decapitates Buffy, and it turns out it's the Buffy bot, which was a nice little reveal. And And the real Buffy's like behind her with the hammer. Like, hi!
Hi.
That was hilarious. And then, they start kind of fighting as they climb up the tower. They fall back down. I did like that. Is when they're fighting, I realised that Glory's dressed in all black, Buffy's dressed in like white, and I really like grey. So like the battle of good and evil there.
Yeah.
Like yin and yang was cool.
That's nice.
And then they both kind of get knocked off, fall back down. And Xander came in like a wrecking ball.
Oh yeah, I said that actually.
Glory would not be very good at Fall Guys. That's all I'll say. Like, she eliminated. There should be an edit. I might do an edit of when that happens. And eliminate.
Oh my god, I'm gonna do it. I have to do it.
Do it and tag me.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. Just like the chances of them falling in the exact right place, and Xander's just there ready with this wrecking ball.
Yeah.
And like they even set it up with the dialogue, like, oh, so good. But it was good that Xander had that moment. He's like, yeah, I've come far too. I can do my bit.
Yeah. And how that, like, of course, I guess pays relevancy to episode 3. Again, you talked about the fact that you think you've got your fillers, etc., but they do have their own significance, and Xander shone once again.
Excellent. He's come so far as well. I really like Xander's development.
I do.
Seasons.
I used to be annoyed with him, but he has grown so much, especially the Zeppo. I think that was like the crux of his. That was the catalyst. That was it. Like in terms of Xander's gone from a character that often I might not tolerate to someone who is really really significant and amazing. So
he's really matured. One of my favorite Xander moments is the season 4 premiere when he's like, I think, what would Buffy do? That speech he gives her there. I'm like, oh my god, you've come so far, Xander. I'm so proud of you. And to see him get a moment like this in this one was great as well.
Yeah,
like, a blimmin' wrecking ball, hilarious. It should be ridiculous and silly, but I love it. So he hit a god with a wrecking ball.
It definitely will be with the Fall Guys meme that I'm now gonna do.
Yeah, I won't be able to rewatch that scene now because I'll just think of eliminated.
Yes.
Oh.
She didn't get a crown.
No, never mind, Glory. She won't get her glory, her crown in glory.
Hey.
Had to get a pun in here at some point.
Yes.
Then we cut back to Dawn. She's straight up not having a good time right now. She's probably like freezing cold. And then she sees Doc there. And she's like, oh, help me, you can help me. And he's like, I have a knife.
Spike
just
goes
like
up.
on her. And then, Willow used a bit of magic to say, hey, Spike, can you go up there, please? So he does. And Doc stabs him and throws him off the tower. And somehow his fall is broken by bricks.
Yes.
Thank goodness there were some bricks there to break his fall. But it's fine. He's an undead vampire. I'm sure it's fine.
I do like the aspect that, like, Spike and him, they had a tussle. And then Buffy's like, bye.
That was another hilarious moment. He's just like...
Such ease. Like...
Yeah. Eliminated. Doc would not be very good at slime climb. And those little
I guess
rotating barriers.
Doc was a Fall Guy.
Ha! You are correct. Excellent. I like to think there's some people watching this and listening to this who are like, what the hell is Fall Guys? And they're going to have no idea what's going on.
Don't
but
play
Google
it, people. Don't play it if you value sanity, because so many times I've been angry.
Yeah, I had to capture some gameplay of me like falling off at some point, and then just put the score from the end of the gift on there. Like, do.
No! Oh my god!
For me, then Buffy jumps off, then it just cuts to a Fall Guy going,
no! Why have we brought this into the universe?
Buffy Summers, she falls off a lot. That'll be good.
No!
So unfortunately, while Glory isn't the one who actually starts the ritual, Doc does, because he obviously cuts Dawn.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Buffy...
Like, different kinds of, like... We even see a dragon at one point, which is, surreal. Like, it's odd for me to say this, but surreal for Buffy. Like, what is this, Westeros?
Yeah, Dracarys. And while that's playing about, Buffy just beating the hell out of Glory with the hammer, and she eventually reverts back to Ben, who's not looking in the best of shape. She spares him. I'm like, well, good on you, Buffy, sparing him.
And then 5 seconds later,
and then, hello there, General. But a detail that I really love about this is normally when shit gets real, Giles takes his glasses off and like wipes them and stuff. In this one, he put them on so he could see him kill Ben.
Oh, wow.
I love that.
That's a nice touch. Like,
yeah, I thought that was a really cool little savage detail from Giles there. And yeah, he smothers Ben to stop Glory ever returning the chance. And you feel bad for Ben. I can also see where Giles is coming from, especially because this is a literal god that could come back and
this is the thing that I was talking about. I mean, it's not an aspect that I want to happen, but I feel like has to happen.
Yeah.
If we're gonna defeat Glory, because what other chance do we have? None. Ben is. Yeah. Funnily enough, I say this, Ben is the key. He is the key if we want to get rid of Glory, because, what would happen if the ritual was, stopped, etc., and, what kind of repercussions would Glory commence against the world, for example, if, she couldn't get what she wanted, so...
Yeah, she could still do a hell of a lot of damage, even if her plan failed for this one thing.
Brought down a building on herself, so...
Yeah, exactly. So, it's quite a lot to take in that Giles did that, but also, he mentioned it earlier, I need to say and do the things that others can't, and he certainly did.
That goes back to, she's not like us, and... Yeah. Which...
I love the line, like, Glory will come back and kill us for Buffy's mercy, like everything with that. It makes sense, even though it is very savage. And then we have the portal opening, creatures coming out attacking Sunnydale. Some rubble comes down towards Xander, and you're like, no, and takes the fall, guys. Takes the fall for him, gets a bit covered, awkward, and yeah. Buffy yeets Doc off the tower, and because the ritual started, Dawn's like, well, this can only end one way, I need to sacrifice myself for this. And I thought Dawn was going to do it. I thought she's a new addition to this one season. Maybe it's like a contained season 5 arc where Buffy has a sister, then loses the sister, and I was like, well, she's already lost her mum, maybe she's going to lose her sister too. It's kind of sad, but the fact that they found this familial bond along the way, even though she technically wasn't her sister. But no, bit of a curveball.
I just do worry regarding Dawn, like what her mental state is going to be coming into season 6, with everything that she's been going through. And now, in the space of like about a couple of months, she's lost her mother and she's lost her sister. So
yeah, what's next for her? Who's going to look after her? Where's she going to live? And
I'm just really like, that's another thing. Like, I'm not sure if she's. Like, it's small and it's minor, but like with episode 17, she was, staying with Willow and Tara. So I'm like wondering if she's going to stay there or whatever, because who is going to look after her?
Yeah, this whole life that the monks kind of crafted for her, she's lost all that now because her mum's gone and Buffy's gone. So what's next for her? But then we get the big reveal, what the season's kind of been building towards. When Buffy kind of puts it all together, like Spock's speech about the blood, like death is your gift from the first Slayer, her saying, your blood's just like mine, the Summer's blood, and she realizes she can sacrifice herself too. That's when the awesome score kicks in.
And that's when tears rained hell.
That's that moment of realization. I was like, because that's the moment it clicked. I'm like, oh my god, she's going to sacrifice herself.
Yeah, I was like, no,
what's going on?
You're not going to do it.
Season 6 and 7, this can't happen. Like... Liam Doc's EXE has stopped working. I'm just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then she gives a very nice speech to Dawn. The hardest thing in this world is to live in it. Be brave, live for me.
Very poignant too.
Yeah. Very graceful leap to her death as well. So even in her final moments, she was very graceful and badass. And just the strength that Buffy has just to get through anything in her life, really, but particularly this season after everything she's gone through, she still had the strength to like give up her life for
a sister
that she didn't even have like half a year ago.
And it's very like they were like struggling and whatnot at the beginning, but now they've developed so much. So yeah, and I do have to say, I think someone pointed this out to me. I think she was buried in front of a willow tree.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you
That's
for
fine.
like deepening the
Thanks
wound.
for that. Thanks for that detail. Yeah, okay. They think long and hard about how to hurt us. Okay. And
Let's throw in a willow tree for good measure.
I also like the detail of when Buffy jumps into the portal. Obviously, she dies and it closes. The sun rises, so it's a dawn of a new day. And,
yeah.
We've saved the dawn to bring a new dawn, so that was very well done. Yay! Yay! I'm dead. And yeah, as the speech continues to play out, give my love to my friends, live for me. We see everyone kind of come down and see Buffy lying there in the rubble. They have a bit of a cry. Anya's like, "Carry me, Xander," which is fair.
Yeah, like it all goes back to the processing of emotions again. And not just that though, but like Anya's just been clocked. So yeah,
and I like how the body was Buffy finding Joyce. Everyone else's reactions to it. That this episode ends with everyone else finding Buffy's body.
Oh no!
Just
no,
that kind of
no.
that little twist of the knife to make us suffer just that bit more.
The body was foreshadowing.
Rude. Yeah, they like doing the old switcheroo. And then we get a shot of Buffy's grave. She saved the world a lot. Linking back to that opening scene, saying who she was, who she is what she did. And that is season 5. That is the 100th episode. That is the season 5 finale. My God, what an ending to a season, for sure.
Yeah, that was like
everything came together.
Honestly, I feel like season 5 may have been one of the best seasons for a show that I've seen. It was. There was never a dull moment for me. Like even the, I guess filler episodes had its moments of like fun, and it was a very very well crafted season that didn't forget about anything in the past, like whether it's the hammer, like from a filler episode. It really really did a good job at making sure that I feel in the end that every episode had significance. So
because like that whole like the triangle episode, it may not be like the biggest one in the grand scheme of the arc, but there's a lot of insight in Anya and her past, and it highlights Anya and Willow's kind of tumultuous relationship, and maybe addressing that, and should Xander side with anyone, should he not? Then the troll hammer ultimately becomes key to stopping Glory. To stopping Glory. Just season 5, man. Roller coaster.
Yeah, I mean,
this season starts with Buffy fighting Dracula, and then it ends with that.
I know,
like God, what a ride!
It's interesting because like we start off on a very very like bizarre and interesting note, like because it's Dracula, and it's like something that you don't really expect, but at the same time, show with vampires, Dracula, it works.
Yeah.
And it's done in a very, very humorous way. And as the season goes on, it just gets stressful, heart aching, etc. So it's like, enjoy this, Buffy fans, because it's not going to get as...
They have the whole arc with Joyce's illness and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. And then that's done. Like, okay, Joyce is fine. Because I thought, well, Joyce wasn't in season 4 a lot. I think they're making up with it by giving her a story a bit more in season 5 because the actress was more available. But then, boom, they do that to me. Mm-hmm. Rude.
And the fact is, this was planned as well, because I think the actress was told by the end of season 3, I believe.
Yeah.
So, this was all planned.
Rude, Josh.
Great.
Rude. But yeah, that was The Body, that was The Gift, 2 huge and iconic episodes of the show for sure. And that was kind of a lot of our thoughts on them, but it's not over just yet, I'm afraid, folks. I'm sorry, it's been an hour and a half, but we're still here. You're not getting rid of us that easily. And we have a few questions now that were sent in from people on my Patreon, so thank you to everyone who sent them in there, and also on my YouTube thing yesterday. We had a lot of responses, so for obvious reasons, I couldn't get to them all. Apologies for that. I had to cut it down based on some stuff I don't think I could personally answer without getting into season 6 and 7 spoilers, so I've avoided that. Some people asked similar kind of questions, so I kind of just merged them all into one. That's kind of how I helped narrow it down, but we had some really great questions, and I'm sorry we just don't have time to get to them all.
Yeah.
It's already been an hour and a half, and yeah, we don't want to waste too much of your time. So I've kind of got some questions about the body, some about the gift. Some of them kind of talk about both episodes, so I've kind of just left them until a bit later on. So yeah, let's dive in. And this is just, in case there's stuff we didn't cover in the initial discussion, we have some other things here. So this is what people were interested in. Because I didn't give away that I was talking to Liam Catterson, so maybe some people thought, I just talk about season 6 and 7. But
yeah, understandable.
Fair. Yeah, but I'm not going to spoil it for him, because that would ruin things. And yes.
Don't.
I can't wait for season 6. I can't wait. Anyway.
I mean, you were having that reaction for season 5, and I've just remembered about Enjoy season 5.
Was I wrong? It was when you messaged me saying, I'd watched The Body, and then I sent you that comment you'd messaged me before about an aneurysm.
Yeah.
I was like, whoopsie.
Yeah.
That was funny. Because we had like a discussion in May, didn't we?
Yeah,
we mentioned
did.
Something about an aneurysm for something. We talk about Dollhouse.
Yes.
You're going to have an aneurysm in at the end of Dollhouse.
Yeah.
And then I screenshot it at the time thinking, when he watches The Body, I'm sending this to him. And I did.
That was, I mean, they even had a thing like early on in the show, like joking about Joyce having an aneurysm. That aged well.
Rude. Rude. But yeah, let's get into some questions. I apologise if I get some name pronunciations wrong. Some of you have very interesting usernames, but not all of them. Anyway, our first question, these are all regarding the body. This is from Sharon, so thank you, Sharon. And she asks, was The Body the most emotional you've been to any TV show or movie? If not, what was more emotional? I
think it was. I think the closest would be the Doctor Falls, because my body was literally hurting from the tears that were. Yeah,
it's definitely up there for me as well. Also, 522 Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., like you mentioned.
Oh yeah.
That was a lot. And 701 of Walking Dead, I was a fucking mess. And 809 of The Walking Dead as well. So definitely up there. But I think The Body is the most I consistently cried throughout the entire episode, for sure.
Same. I mean, I don't think there was a moment where I could feel like any kind of joy being produced. I was like most of the time in a ball of tears, and
Joyce, you could say.
Why?
Anyway.
Why?
Our next question comes from Leah, who says, I was wondering what you both thought of the way Whedon gave everyone their own unique way of displaying grief. My problem with most shows is that whenever there's a loss, everyone seems to have some sort of uniform cookie-cutter reaction to death, when in reality people experience grief in very different ways to one another. Do you think The Body helps to normalise this, and do you think other show and film creators could learn something from this episode and try and approach the subject matter in a more realistic way like Whedon did?
That's a very, very interesting question.
Yes.
Yeah, like, as I've mentioned, one of the good things about The Body was how everyone had their own unique ways, because we all do react in different ways, some based on anger, some based on, like Willow, for example, where she was very indecisive and, didn't want to feel like she's taking the stage away from Buffy, for example.
Yeah, I think Leah has a very good point about like the cookie cutter reaction to death that some characters have. In most TV shows, if someone dies, all the characters will be like, and all like the swelling music because they're like, it's the most tragic thing. But in reality, some people, don't cry. Some people are very reserved about it and they internalize it all. So, I think The Body's very good at showcasing a more realistic reaction. And
the good thing is, like, you have characters like Anya who, like, from Willow's perspective, she lectured her about being rude, and there's that lack of understanding in terms of Anya's character. So I really do like how everyone goes through their own different ways, and I think this is, like, given the fact that Buffy is a supernatural show, this is probably one of the rawest examples of a show ever. Like it had the vampire at the end, but it went through a very, very realistic approach on death and everyone's reactions to it, and not just that though, but some of the building blocks in how the body works, from the lack of music to the thing that we mentioned about imagining, okay, that person walking through the door, Buffy imagining that, you know, Joyce was alive. They do very, very good jobs at demonstrating a lot of key aspects of death that I think a lot of shows, they could benefit from that episode, because it's done in a. I don't think there can be an episode like The Body, because it's such a unique episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think TV shows like with their deaths and stuff, I think they are like a bit more reserved and a bit more realistic. I've definitely seen more examples of that now, but it seems like The Body was definitely a big instrumental thing in displaying like a more realistic sense of grief, and that's why I think it's still talked about 20 years on, for sure. So for sure. Our next question is from Heather, who says, the vampire's presence at the end of The Body is often criticised. Do you feel having that supernatural element shattered the raw reality that Joss worked so hard to immerse you in, or did the inclusion of something so classically Sunnydale in an episode so unavoidably real actually just lends more weight to the believability?
More weight to the believability, in my opinion. I think we mentioned this. Life goes on. The world doesn't stop for you. Like, Buffy might be the main character, etc. But, you know, we could have had the world stop for her. But, you know, such little things like the parking ticket, like the vampire waking up, that's just what happens in the world. Like, it's life. It goes on.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it for that, for sure. Next is Scott, who says, there was a lot of time spent on making sure the audience didn't hate Dawn or think she was a demon. A lot of time and dialogue saying that Joyce's aneurysm had nothing to do with Glory or Dawn or any of the supernatural. Do you believe that? Do you think that the memory dump when the monks sent Dawn to Buffy had any effect on Joyce's brain? Or did it, like, emphasise any pre-existing weaknesses or problems?
When we had the whole tumour situation, I was thinking, like, when we started, is this going to be a side effect because of Dawn? Going back to that, okay, giveth, taketh thing with life. But I don't think there's anything supernatural regarding her death. It just happened. And it can show that, like, you know, this... You can have vampires, you know, do their shit to victims, but this show demonstrated that even the most humane things can take away people that, you know, have a huge impact on this show. So
yeah, for me it's much more impactful if it is just a natural thing. I think that's definitely a better way of approaching it. And I think Willow had the point. Like, if it was Glory, she'd want us to know about it. She wouldn't, like, cover her tracks and stuff.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a very good theory, and I can see why people would believe it and stuff, because it makes sense. I think there is sense to it. But I prefer to think it's a very natural thing, because I just think that's in keeping more with what Season 5 in terms of, like, themes stuff is going for.
Yeah, I don't blame people for jumping to that assumption, because the stars do align, but, like I said, some things that Buffy couldn't prevent just happen, and you know, it's impactful that it's done to a character with such significance, like, who's been there from the start. It's impactful that it hits someone very, very close.
Yes. Next up is from, I think, Luckman. I apologise if I've butchered the pronunciation, but they ask, how do you think Spike would have reacted if he was in this episode?
Probably similar in a sense to how he reacted when he found Buffy, because we can't forget that that Joyce and Spike were really, really good friends. Like, you had that cute comment about passions when they were hiding Dawn in the crypt with Joyce, and it was a really, really wholesome bit to see them, you know, interact. And so I don't know, probably in a similar sense, he especially with this season, I feel like Spike has been becoming more humanized, if you get what I mean. With the loss of Joyce, I feel like if he was there, if we got his reaction rather than the first instance, him delivering the flowers, I think he probably... I don't know if he would have teared up as much as he did regarding Buffy, but I think he would be hurt. He would be upset and probably lost for words.
Yeah, I think a lot of the classic kind of Spike mannerisms would just like wash away for sure. You know, when he comforted Buffy at the end of Fall for Love, you know, she was kind of upset about the whole Joyce situation.
Yeah,
so I think it would be a very similar thing.
Yeah, and this is the thing, like, he was on his way to kill Buffy, and then you had Spike's whole demeanor shift, comforting Buffy, and it was really, really beautiful. So it would be it would be a similar reaction, I feel like he was to Buffy at the end of Full for Love, where he's just frozen, he's just lost for words and upset. But I could see a few tears being shed potentially.
Yeah, agreed. Maybe more so because he's sad that Buffy's sad, but he also did have a very nice bond with Joyce that I always really enjoyed, and I kind of wish he did more with, to be honest, if anything.
I do too.
But I can also see why he wasn't included in the episode.
Yeah.
Next is, I think it's Cena, maybe Sina. Apologies if I got that wrong. They say, Whedon decided to put a cliffhanger/spoiler at the end of the previous episode, I Was Made to Love You, that left most reactors anxious about watching the body. Do you think that was a good idea, or would you have preferred to go into the episode blind?
I think it was a good idea because, as we talked about, I think it does match on par with the whole process of someone dying. You have that shock and that difficulty in processing the emotions, and that was the vibe definitely for me at the end of episode. At the end of it, I Was Made to Love You.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Because I was like, what's going to happen? Like I was lost for words. I didn't know what to say because that was so, like, it was not something you would expect from that episode. They just slapped you into this, and I feel like it gets you prepared, like emotionally. Like you want to hope that it's all some kind of I don't know, mirage or whatever. But
yeah. I think it's kind of an equivalent to like a trigger warning, just like from 20 years ago. I think like the body is brutal in itself, even knowing that you may be going down that path at the end of the last episode. So if that was gone completely, I think that would have been all the worse, because they already put you through the ring of like the fake outs already and stuff like that. So I think it was kind of good to have that preparation, just in case that was something you may not have wanted to check out and just read up on. Next, we have Bean's Friend. Hello, Bean's Friend. They say, when you see episodes like this, do you prefer to put them aside and never have to relive them, even if you think they're good? Or do you choose to rewatch to see how they affect you at different points in your life?
I mean, that's it. Like, I feel like I would definitely choose the latter because there is so much you can pick up from that episode and so much you can relate to. I mean, a lot of us who have watched the body have all gone through our own experiences of losing a loved one, and I know I've had people comment on my channel actually about seeing their like similarities to the situation at hand and how they processed it. So I think it's really, really good to go back to that. You can go back to that episode and point out certain emotions that you would have felt during that moment. So yeah,
I've definitely gained more from watching it like 3 times at this point. So and like The Gift is sad, but it's also like a really good episode, and I can still find myself revisiting it for a lot of really cool moments and stuff, just because season 5 is so good for sure. Next we have Franco. I think this is a very interesting question. They ask, do you think the body would have worked in any other season?
I mean, I think it might have. I mean, the whole thing is, it does paint towards around death. It and everyone's reaction to it. And I don't know at this point because we also have to focus on Dawn's reaction as well, and. Yeah, I feel like it wouldn't have done as good as it would have in season 5, unless Dawn existed in. Well, she always has existed in season 4, hasn't she? Um, no,
Yeah,
but if
that's a very good point.
if yeah, I feel like everyone's reaction is very, very pivotal.
Yeah,
Like for example, that scene with Buffy confronting Dawn in the school. It's a powerful scene because of the whole negative space aspect, the idea of Buffy telling Dawn, and it's all muffled. And like I said, we already know what she's going to say. It's more so a showing rather than tell.
yeah, yeah,
So I think it still would have been a tremendous episode and one of the best things out there, but I feel like it would have lost a small portion of flavour if it existed in another season than season 5.
yeah. It's a very good point. Yeah, especially with like Dawn's presence and stuff. And I think at a push, maybe season 4 would be like the earliest I'd want to see it. I don't think it would have worked as well during like the high school years with Angel around and everything.
Oh no.
I think we've had 5 seasons to get to know these characters, see their interactions with Joyce, see their interactions with each other, fall in love with all these characters, and then you see them kind of go through this big thing. The impact comes from, I think, having known them for like 5 seasons at this point for sure. And, you know, Willow and Tara's first kiss, they had a lot more time to flesh out that relationship. So for that to happen in a very organic place like Joyce's death, I think made it all the more impactful and memorable. And it's good that, you know, one of the most popular, most talked about, most famous single episodes of TV history has, you know, a same-sex kiss in it. I think that's awesome.
Definitely.
And yeah, I think you're right. It would have lessened the impact, but it still would have been a great episode. But I think this is the peak moment where it could have happened.
Yeah, because you got these like questions as well. For example, like Buffy, how like she's got to have to realize that she now has to look after Dawn. Whereas if you place that in season 4, then that isn't brought up, and it adds on well to the whole stress Buffy's going through in terms of discovering more about the Slayer. Now she has to look after Dawn. So yeah, I feel like it would have been good, but it wouldn't have been good as it would have been if it were like season 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this is the last one solely about the body. This is from Bremex. Apologies if I butchered it. They say, this episode delivered a first for any other TV show. Willow and Tara shared their first kiss. They weren't the first lesbian kiss on TV. However, they were the first lesbians that shared a kiss while being in a serious committed relationship. Do you think they should have left such a special moment for another episode?
I don't know. I don't think it would have worked, because we did talk about the idea of you know, it's just general comfort, and it's such a big moment, and I know that it was pulling teeth apparently to get Willow and Tara to kiss for some strange reason, because, you know, I don't want to even open those can of worms, because it's still baffling how, like, it's I don't know, a bad thing to have, you know, 2 women in a serious relationship kiss, or men, for example. But you know, this was a statement, if anything, like that this is normal. This is a thing that shouldn't be. And as we pointed out, Joss threatened to walk if that wasn't included. So yeah, I feel like it wouldn't have worked. Well, not wouldn't have worked, but I feel like it had to be included. Yeah. Because I don't know if there would be another opportune time, especially with the quality of the body. So, and it normalizes the idea that, you know, women or same-sex couples, should I say, it normalizes the idea that it's okay for them to kiss.
Yeah. The body doesn't just normalize like grief; it normalizes like other things like that. Which is really cool. I still think, you know, it happening at all would be like a huge, cool, crazy deal. But I think this clearly wasn't the first time they've ever kissed. It's just the first time they've kissed on screen, and I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the big moment why it fits in this episode so well, because it makes sense. It feels natural that these two women who love each other would kiss in a situation like this, in this situation of trying to find comfort. So maybe if it was like their first ever kiss we saw on screen, you know, like the first time they ever kissed, it was like this big moment there, that would have been really impactful anywhere. But I think it's a very good moment for it to happen on screen for the first time in an episode like this.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it could have worked. I just think it being in the body is kind of peak.
Yeah, especially with an episode of that quality. That, like I said, it was already pulling teeth. So, you know, it works really, really well.
Yeah. Okay, so we move on to The Gift, and some of them are like general about both episodes as well. But first up is Roger. Thanks, Roger. Roger that.
Thank you.
Why am I like this?
Roger,
anyway,
Roger.
Roger says... Roger. Roger says, personally, I've always thought the show could have ended with The Gift, and I would have been satisfied. What are your thoughts on this?
Same. I think I even said, like, if this was a series finale, I think it would have ended, or I think that would have been a great way to end, especially with the fact that the adversary, like, this is what I was talking about. I'm really curious to see what they're going to do, like, because we've just faced a god, so how can you really top a deity in terms of an adversary? And, you know, it works really well. You stop a god, there's a sacrifice that's happened. I mean, yes, there's other aspects that we want to cover, but I think it was like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. Like, there were some moments that, you know, could have had more, like if series 5 was the ending of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there are some things we could have delved into further, but I think a lot of us feel that series 5 of Agents would be a decent way to end if it did meet that ending. Thankfully, it didn't.
Yeah, I'm the same with the 100 season 5. If it ended with season 5, I'd have been happy. And boy, I wish it ended with season 5.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Season 5 was the ending of the 100.
And I'm saying this as someone who adored season 6. I still wish season 5 had ended it. That's how much I didn't like season 7.
Same.
Anyway, let's not. This is about Buffy. It's fine. But yeah, I would have been satisfied if The Gift had been the end of the show. Maybe if that was going to be it, I would have liked a scene after the grave with everyone like there, like just I don't know, just see them there. Maybe.
Because I think the way that they ended it would have been a bit too rushed. I feel that's the only kicker. Like I said, as well as other areas as well, like Xander and Anya, are they going to get married? Who knows? Yeah. But if that was it for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I think it would have made a decent series finale. So
yeah, I agree. So Alison asks, did Ben's death impact the way you view Giles?
No, not really, because he had to do what had to be done, and you know, this is a way to stop Gloria, and he even says himself that she's not like us, and we've pointed out, we've both agreed to the point that he has to sometimes make the calls that Buffy can't make, and she spared Ben, and this was always the case. Like, I felt that Ben had to die. It would suck to lose Ben, but I felt like he had to die, and Giles did what he had to do. So
if he hadn't been so open and said, I have to do things and say things that others can't, if he didn't say that, I think maybe it would have coloured my view if he suddenly did that turn. But he's open about sometimes he has to do this kind of stuff, and then he does it. So it's not like he's lying about that aspect of himself. So it didn't really change my view drastically. If anything, I was like, wow, you're a savage. I respect you for that. Yeah.
Respect Giles.
Next we have Amy, and she says, something reactors seldom comment on is Buffy's conversation with Joyce's doctor in the hospital waiting area. In particular, the part where Buffy hears, I have to lie to make you feel better, even though this is clearly not what the doctor says. I find it a striking moment. Is the doctor lying, and should he? Regardless, what Buffy hears certainly implies that she believes it's a lie. Further, her comments to Angel in Forever suggest that Buffy also feels partly responsible for her mother's death, because she didn't get there in time, even though it probably wouldn't have made a difference. Do you think this misplaced guilt contributed at all to her decision in The Gift?
Interesting. It might have. I don't know. I feel like it might have played a small factor in a sense because, yeah, like there was the opportunity for Dawn to sacrifice herself, but she, it's that case of she couldn't do anything regarding Joyce versus she could do something regarding Dawn now that she has this realization.
Yeah,
It's Summer's blood. So I do feel like there is a. I don't know. It might have contributed in a bit, but I don't know. I feel like personally there's a small bit of contribution because it's that versus situation, and I do love a good comparison. So
yeah, I think it was definitely more so about saving her sister, saving the world and stuff, as opposed to misplaced guilt. But I can see it playing a role because when Joyce kind of realised that Dawn wasn't her daughter and everything, she was like, we need to protect her, and that's what Buffy did at the end. So I could definitely see that. Her way of honouring Joyce, and she even said earlier in the gift, I wish Mum was here. And maybe that would have changed things.
I was going to say, like, with the fact that she is honouring what Joyce said, we saw her break down at the end of episode 20, wasn't it? When Glory had Dawn, and you saw how, like, she felt like she couldn't do that, and, it wouldn't really, I don't know, it wouldn't really make a difference if Dawn had jumped in. Like, because she would have felt like she failed Joyce again. So this way, she saves the world. She protects Dawn. Dawn gets to live, and yeah.
I think that kind of bleeds into our next one as well from Love Lissa. They ask, do you think Buffy would have made the sacrifice she did in the gift if the events of the body hadn't transpired and Joyce was still alive?
I feel like she might have done so, but I don't know if there would be a bigger weight on her shoulders with again honouring Joyce, protecting Dawn, etc. I feel like she would have, because it's not like Buffy's selfish. If there's, I feel like if there's an opportunity to protect Dawn in general, she would take it just as a greater impact with the fact that her mother's died. She's got to protect Dawn, and this is it. But if Joyce had still been alive, it's not like she would have been like, "Okay, Dawn, woo-hoo." So
goodbye. Yeah, it depends on what Joyce would think. Like, she'd be like, "I'm gonna do it. Bye."
And now I'm just imagining just Joyce there. Just, I don't know. She could do something against Glory.
It would depend. Like, obviously, she'd then have a say in things if she was still around, and that would influence things. But I think if Buffy knew that Dawn still had Joyce to look after her, I think she'd feel even more comfortable with that decision to sacrifice herself. But it's an interesting question nonetheless. Unfortunately, we'll never know because Joyce and Buffy are no longer with us. Then, whoopsie. Then our final question is from Bruno, who says, many people still don't know to date how to interpret the Summer's blood thing and the final sacrifice. What is your interpretation of this gift? Do you think it made sense Buffy being able to sacrifice herself instead of Dawn, even though Dawn was the key? I myself think it's a bit of powers that be situation, just like the Snow when Angel tried to kill himself in season 3, like a divine rule altering reward for Buffy's efforts, an actual gift for her to rest. But it's something the fandom debates still now. What's your personal opinion on it?
I do like that idea because there is a greater... I feel like there's a great respect to the whole death is your gift thing, because prior it was like as if she was a harbinger of death, that death happens because of her. And this is it, like, now she can rest. She's been doing this for quite some time, and with the amount of stress that she's been through this season, by trying to learn more about herself with Dawn and that responsibility of looking after her against Glory, Joyce, this is it. Like, I feel like she can rest. She can rest easy, and know that she has saved the world a lot.
Yes, quite right.
But yeah, I do like the idea that, like, that this was, I don't know, probably her destiny. So Yeah, I feel like that's a very, very interesting way of looking at things. Like, especially with the idea that there's a lighter weight on her shoulders rather than being some kind of harbinger of death.
Yeah, I like the idea of the powers that be kind of being like, yeah, this is your award, this is going to work. Because, there's always been that connection with Buffy and Angel. They're very kind of seared onto each other's hearts.
Yeah.
And if it was the powers that be in Amends, when they made it snow and everything, you're like, Angel, you're not done yet. And if they had their say in this, like, Buffy, it's your time now. There's an interesting kind of contrast there. In fact, that they kept Angel alive, but let Buffy die, because that was kind of the reward and stuff. And if Buffy hadn't gone through all that stuff and got the death is your gift prophecy, she might not have even thought that would work with everything else she had in mind already. I think that's what made it sure for her that, like, this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's coming from a Slayer, so she's like, well, I can trust that, I think. But yeah, I like the idea of, like, the powers that be kind of getting involved and allowing it to work, even if it wouldn't necessarily have, because Buffy's not the key, but the key exists through Buffy. So I can kind of see it making sense either way. But it's a very interesting idea, I think, because I always enjoy them talking about the powers that be in both Buffy and Angel.
I think the idea as well, like, is that she doesn't necessarily have to be sacrificed. Dawn, should I say? Because it's not like I don't know that it's not like she's got her own prophecy that Dawn has to die, etc. But that there is a danger if she is used to open to bleed the dimensions into each other. There is that high risk. There is a chance that it can be prevented, and Buffy prevented more. Well, she prevented the idea that Dawn has to go through pain, through death. So
yeah, imagine if the big reveal was like if they just put a plaster on her cuts, the blood stops and that everything's fine. and Buffy's like, wee.
Now you know what? Now that imagine I just want that to happen. Like, this is what's going to happen. Season 6, we're going to have time travel. That's going to prevent Dawn from bleeding by putting plasters on for her.
Yeah,
Buffy's saved.
Season 6 is called Endgame Parts 1 to 22.
Hey, I mean, Whedon connects the dots.
Galaxy brain. But yes, that was all our questions. Thank you to everyone who sent them in. Apologies we couldn't get to all, like, 80 or so of them. But as it is, we've been talking for 2 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah, so I mean, that's insane.
We're all buffied out. How many episodes could we have watched in this time? Like 3? We could have watched the episodes again, basically. But I've had an absolute blast talking all things depressing Buffy episodes, sacrifices, deaths, all the Summer's deaths. And yeah, I'm very glad you had this idea. Thank you for kind of proposing it.
Yeah, thank you for accepting. I've really, really loved this, and it was really good to go back down memory lane, reliving the heartache.
Yeah, some crazy episodes. I can't believe. Why did we decide to watch this show? Why we didn't know what we were letting ourselves in for.
I did not sign up for this.
I didn't sign up for this. I'm in danger.
I'm in danger.
But there we go. As we kind of approaching close enough to the end of both our Buffy journeys as well. You're getting into like the latter few seasons. I have 9 episodes left.
Oh, buddy. What's life going to be like for you once,
Empty.
Done.
Empty.
Yeah.
There's just no point. I'm shutting down my channel after I finish Buffy. I'm deleting the channel. Goodbye, everyone.
It was nice knowing you all.
I've had a good run. 3 years is enough. I'm out. Bye. And then I jump off a big tower into a portal.
With the Fall Guys thing.
Yeah, eliminated. Oh. Never mind. But yeah, with that, thank you everyone for listening / watching, because I feel like I need to put some video in this so you can see Liam's awesome Spider-Man costume.
Yes.
So there it is.
Picture, I don't know.
Hope you've enjoyed it, and you can see my Sunnydale High shirt because I'm a nerd.
Hang on,
I think the mask is going on.
Yeah, I'm gonna end.
Glasses are coming off.
Yeah.
It's like Giles again. I'll put my glasses off in solidarity. There we go. Even though I don't like how I look without glasses, I'm putting them back on. But
Spider-Man's not like us.
Where did Liam go? Where is he?
Hey everyone.
Now we have to do it all again with Spider-Man. So let's go back to our notes on the body.
So, not as bad as when Gwen Stacy died.
How dare you? Oh, someone else who like fell to their death. Oh,
Oh no!
goodness gracious!
No. What did I do to myself?
Just bringing up all these dead blonde women that we love. What are you doing?
This is why JJ hates me.
Yeah, I understand now. But on the plus side, I'm not just giving him pictures of Spider-Man, I'm giving him a video of Spider-Man. So
yes,
I'm
videos
making
of
Spider-Man. Anyway, what a bizarre tangent for our Buffy stream. But thank you so much, everyone, for watching / listening. It's been good to get back into the ReactorCast things. Life is busy, so we've had a bit of a hiatus. But what a way to come back with a bumper edition talking about Buffy, the body, and The Gift. If you're not Buffy fans, sorry, this is probably when you can skip.
Yeah. Unless you want to spoil yourselves, then feel free. But
go ahead,
watch it.
Yeah, but yes, that was a lot of fun. Thank you for all your questions, and thank you, Liam, for joining me and suggesting the idea.
And thank you for accepting this idea, because I loved this. It's awesome.
Yes, and we've always said we could talk about Buffy for hours. We literally have. There is no proof of it. Many hours, and I'm sure we'll have to do something like this again after we both finish the show, I think.
Oh yeah,
an interesting thing to do.
Yeah, we could reflect.
So we'll see you in 2022. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.